Mm-hmm. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, Mo Boxing? Yeah, got little things I want to cook on today. Yeah, uh, let me go ahead and get started. People come in, so you smash the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you ain't subscribed. What's going on, people? Y'all tuned into another episode of Boxing Matchups. Um, got some stuff I want to talk about as far as what fights the fans want to see in 2022. Um, fans been looking for a lot of fights and been anticipating a lot of fights. I mean, we've been getting a lot of garbage fights over the past couple of years. Well, I'm not gonna say so much garbage fights, but we wasn't getting the fights that we wanted. So, I mean, it's 2022. It's time for the fans to get the fights that they be looking for, the fights they've been asking for. Um, so, I mean, like I said, I mean, the main fight everybody's looking for, the biggest fight that's in boxing right now is Terrence Crawford and EJ. Um, I believe we should be able to get that fight before the year is up. Um, EJ is fighting Ugas for the third belt, and Terrence Crawford has the last belt. So, with that being said, after EJ fight Ugas, there shouldn't be no reason why they can't make the Terrence Crawford and EJ fight. That should be a fight that should be ready to be made. It's been cooking for 3 years now, 4 years. So we should be able to get these fights. So I mean that's the main fight that everybody's been looking for. The EJ and Terrence Crawford is the number one fight that everybody's been looking for this year. I believe the Cambosa and Devin Haney is another big fight that everybody's been looking for. Devin Haney is more deserving of that fight for undisputed. He has the WBC belt. Cambosa just won all of the other belts from TO, and it's time for these boxers to be a man of their word and stop bouncing around the best competition. Um, Cambosa said he was going to fight Devin Haney after he had won the belts from Tio. Then he decided he wanted to shop to see who was the best fighters between Devin Haney and JoJo and Tank and Pitbull Cruz and Lomachenko and Richard Coleman. I mean, that's all fine and dandy. You want to go look at those fights, but the fight that need to be made is Cambosa and Devin Haney. Devin Haney's been trying to get that undisputed fight ever since um, T.O. had the belts, and he's been trying to get the fight to be in the talk for undisputed. Well, yeah, the talk for undisputed ever since Loma was the champion. So I mean, like I said, T.O. said he was going to fight Devin Haney, and then he decided to retract from that and decided to go fight his mandatory instead of fighting for undisputed. So, like I said, I believe Devin Haney is deserving of that fight. He's been looking for that fight for a couple years now. Mo Boxer said, "I'd be surprised if they make the Spence Crawford bout this year. I'm losing hope." I mean, To be honest with you, I mean, it's really nothing else standing in the way. Once Terrence Crawford finished with Ugas, I mean, there's no other fight that's standing in the way. All the other fights will be voluntary fights. Terrence Crawford already fought his mandatory, so any fight he fight now is a voluntary fight. So the only obstacle that will be in the way is if Terrence Crawford takes another fight, because EJ don't have a fight right now. He don't have another fight coming up. He don't have any mandatories on the table right now. The IBF hasn't did a eliminator match for nobody to be called the IBF mandatory, and the belt that Ugas has, the WBA belt, those guys that's supposed to be a mandatory, they fighting a tournament right now. So there's no fights in the way for them not to make the Terrence Crawford and EJ fight if EJ becomes victorious over Ugas on in April. Like I said, the only fight that will be in the way is if Terrence Crawford decides to take another fight. Hey, what's going on, Colonello? Yeah, so then, like I said, the fight should be made. Then, like I said, the only person that will be holding it up would be Terrence Crawford because, like I said, until EJ showed me something different, EJ's always been a man of his word, and he said, once I get this third strap, we're gonna see who really don't want the fight. So, like I said, until he showed me something else, EJ's been a man of his word. He said he's after he get this third strap, he's going straight for Terrence Crawford. So the only person that can hold it up after EJ get this belt would be Terrence Crawford. That's the only person that would be holding it up. Whether it's money, the reason, or it's him trying to fight somebody else, he will be the only reason why this undisputed will be held up. But so you said Carmenella said Jamal may be moving up to 168. He posted it on IG. I mean, if him and Buba Andrade don't fight, he's not going to get a unification with Triple G. And if, like I said, if he don't fight Demetrius Andrade, I mean, that's the next move. I mean, another reason you got to look at him moving up is he believe his brother is going to beat Brian Castano. They fighting in February, so I believe it's February. Yeah, I think they fighting in February. I think it's February 19th, if I'm not mistaken, or it might be later in February. But um, he's fighting in February, so um, he believe his brother is going to beat Brian Castano, and once his brother become undisputed, his brother is most likely going to move up because if EJ get this fight with Terrence Crawford and he becomes undisputed with Terrence Crawford, he's going to move up. Or if he doesn't get the fight with Terrence Crawford, he's going to move up. So Jamal is probably moving up because he know his brother is going to be moving up and he don't want to fight against his brother. And Jamel is moving up because he know EJ is coming up and he's not trying to fight EJ because they in the same training camp. So um, I don't see. I mean, I don't like I said. If he not fighting Demetrius Andrade, I don't see why he shouldn't move up. I mean, if he move up, we already know everybody. I mean, he already know who everybody's going to be calling for. They're going to be calling for him to fight um, David Benavidez. So, is he going to move up and fight David Benavidez, or is he going to move up and try to get that vacant WBC belt? Because Canelo said he's going to drop the belts. He's going to vacate all the belts. He's not. I don't believe he's coming back down to 168. I believe he's going to vacate all the belts. So he'll be fight. Either he's going to be fighting for the vacant WBC belt, or he's going to become the mandatory for Canelo if Canelo decides to stay at 168. So that would be a good move. I don't understand why he hasn't done that yet. He's been trying to get Canelo. Why not put in a bid for to be the mandatory? You're the WBC champion. I don't understand why you haven't put in the bid to become the mandatory. Canelo is the WBC champion. You're a WBC champion. You should petition to be the WBC mandatory. Mo Boxing said, I feel both sides are playing the fans. If they don't make the fight this year, it will lose its appeal to the mass. I don't think EJ's playing both sides. EJ did what he said he was going to do. He did everything he said he was going to do. When he got the belt from Kell Brook, he did exactly what he said he was going to do. He only fought 3 fights that wasn't a championship fight. 2 of them was a mandatory, and one of them was Mikey Garcia. And he fought the Mikey Garcia because that was his first pay-per-view fight. Excuse me. That was his first pay-per-view fight. Mikey Garcia was a big name, and Mikey Garcia called him out. So, and like I said, Mikey Garcia was on the same side of the street as EJ. So, I mean, it was an easy fight to be made. I mean, that was a marketing tool to use for for Earl Spence to use Mikey Garcia to boost his name up, boost his brand. He fought Mikey Garcia, beat Mikey Garcia on his first pay-per-view fight. It was Mikey Garcia's first pay-per-view fight too, so it would have been a step up for Mikey if Mikey would have beat EJ, but it was a step up for EJ because he beat Mikey. I believe Mikey was a 4-division champion at that time. So, I mean, like I said, other than that, EJ been chasing the belts on his side of the street, and he got both. He got 2 of them, and he got 1 more left to get because he fought Kell Brook and got the IBF. Then he fought Campo for his mandatory. Then he fought Mikey Garcia in his first pay-per-view fight. Then he fought Sean Porter in his next title fight and got the WBC belt. He had the car accident. He came back from the car accident. He fought Mikey Garcia. Now, after the Mikey Garcia fight, he was supposed to be fighting Manny Pacquiao, but we all know he had a torn eye retina or detached eye retina, however you want to call it. He had a detached eye retina, and then after that, now he's fighting Ugas. So, like I said, he's been doing exactly what he said. So I don't believe that EJ is playing the fans. Is more so Bud, because Bud knew that the fight couldn't be made. He knew that Bob wasn't going to make the fight. So all of this stuff that he was doing was just, I guess, and from my point of view, I see as Bud was doing something to build the fight up. But I mean, like I said, he came out and said Bob couldn't make the fight, so he knew that the fight wasn't going to be made. So I don't see that. Like I said, I don't see that EJ was playing the fans. It's more so Bud was, because Bud was the one that doing all the call out. EJ didn't call out. EJ just said, when I finish getting my belts on my side of the street, then I'm coming to see EJ. I mean, I'm coming to see Bud. He never went against that. He never went out there and said, "Oh, Bud, I want to see you next." No, he didn't do that. That was Bud calling EJ out after he knew that the fight couldn't be made. So, but yeah. So I mean, I could see Jamal moving up to 168, but like I said, I don't see why he hasn't petitioned for the WBC to make him the WBC mandatory. He's the WBC champion right now. Canelo is the WBC champion. He could have put petition for Canelo to be the mandatory. I mean, we all know that Mauricio Sulaimán is not going to do that because it's Canelo. And Mo Boxer said, I'm just frustrated by the whole thing. We need this fight ASAP. Yeah, I mean, we need it. But I mean, actually, with EJ doing the way he doing, it makes the fight even better, because now not only is it a big fight because it's EJ and Terence Crawford, but now it will be for undisputed. So it makes the fight even better because it's for undisputed. So, I mean, everybody want the fight, but I mean, like I said, the fight is going to be a whole lot better because it's for undisputed. What's going on, Votes UK? But yeah. So I mean, and like I said, with Devin Haney and Kambosos, that fight gotta happen because Kambosos, he don't have any mandatories. Any fight he take, it will be a voluntary fight. So why not kill all the noise and fight Devin Haney? You beat Devin Haney, you will be the undisputed champion. Right now, you can't say you're the undisputed champion because people disputing it. Devin Haney got the WBC belt. You have the WBC franchise. The WBC franchise is not a real belt. They just came up with that belt for Canelo Alvarez and Lomachenko. And then Tio petitioned for it once he beat Lomachenko. So it's not a real belt. So to kill all the conversation of you not being undisputed and this and that, fight Devin Haney and become the undisputed champion. Whether you win or you lose, there will be an undisputed champion. If Devin Haney win, he will be undisputed. If you win, you will be undisputed. So that's the kill the noise right there. Just fight him and become undisputed. So I mean, but the next fight that I have on there is Tank Davis and Gary Russell Jr. Now Gary Russell Jr. been calling for this fight for about 4 or 5 years now. This is a big fight just because of the two names that's in it. Well, not just because the two names in it, but the two names are in there are two big names fighters in their division. Everybody know who Tank Davis is. He's a Floyd Mayweather product. He fought 130 and became the WBA champion. He fought at 135, became the WBA champion. He fought at 140, became the WBA champion. Now at 130, he was the WBA super. At 135 and 140, he was the WBA regular. But either way you look at it, he still was a WBA champion. He moved to 3 different weight classes and then became the WBA champion. And Gary Russell Jr., well, he's been the WBC champion for going on 6 years now. So, but not only are those two fighters are big names in boxing, in the boxing industry, but both of those fighters are from the DMV. They literally like 45 minutes away from each other. That Tank Davis from Baltimore, Gary Russell Jr. from Capitol Heights, Maryland. They literally straight down BW Parkway. So that would be the battle of the Beltway. And like I said, that fight there that's a monster fight. They would have to have that fight at, I mean, I'm not even sure. They can't have it at no small arena. They can't have it at the MGM in at the National Harbor because that spot is not big enough. Because that place is going to sell out. As soon as that fight is called, that place is going to sell out. Wherever they put it at, it's going to sell out. You got Tank Davis versus Gary Russell Jr. That fight is going to sell out. He said, I hope Gary remains active. He got a hard fight against. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a hard fight. But I've been watching the fight that Gary's coming in. I've been watching the fighter Maxino. I don't even know how to pronounce that name, but I've been watching him fight, and I don't think he. The only thing I could see that would make it a difficult fight for Gary Russell is the fighter. He does have fast hands. His hands not as fast as Gary's, but he has fast hands. But the thing is, he comes in with wide punches, and Gary is small, so Gary can get inside and work his body. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it looked like you spelled it right, but I don't even know how to pronounce it. So, but yeah, he comes in with wide punches, and Gary can get inside and work his body. But like I said, Gary's been out of the ring for 18 months now, so he got to get back in ring shape, and he's in the gym. He's working. So I know he's in the gym working. So he's getting it. He's getting in shape, and it's going to be a very interesting fight. I see Gary coming out winning a unanimous decision. I see him winning a unanimous decision against him, and then but yeah, it's been rumors that they've been talking about the Tank Davis and Gary Russell for the summer of this year. So that would be a great fight if they do make it. Because like I said, Gary Russell's been calling Tank out for years. He's been disrespecting Tank, calling the man all out and calling him out his name and everything. He's been Gary Russell even been going at Floyd Mayweather, saying Floyd Mayweather is hiding his fighter, stop hiding his fighter. So they need to make that fight because like I said, that's the one. It's going to be a big pay-per-view and it's going to do great ticket sales. So, like I said, that fight is going to sell out. If they have it anywhere in the DMV, it's going to sell out. You have it at the uh, the Verizon Center where the Wizards play at, it's going to sell out. If you have it in see, trying to think where the spot that Tank fought in Baltimore, I can't remember the name of the spot, but if they have it there, it's going to sell out. So anywhere they have it in the DMV, it's going to sell out. Shoot, anywhere they have it, period, it's going to sell out. They put it in Vegas, it's going to sell out. They put it in Atlanta, it's going to sell out. Everybody know who Gary Russell Jr. is. Everybody know who Tank is. So it's going to sell out wherever they put it at. But the other fight that I have up there, let me see. Mo Boxing said, let me say. He said, many will see Gary Tank as a mismatch due to both men are separate weight division. Tank isn't going to get credit for fighting Gary. I think he will get credit for fighting Gary. I think he will get credit for fighting Gary because of the simple fact of Gary has called his name out. Gary called out Tank Davis. Tank Davis haven't called Gary out. It would now he probably wouldn't get credit if Tank Davis was calling out Gary, but Gary was the one that called out Tank Davis. What's going on, K Savoy? It's the same thing like with Devin Haney. Devin Haney was calling out Gary Russell, but if they would have fought and Devin Haney would have beat Gary, Devin Haney would have got credit for beating Gary. Yeah, so I don't see why Tank wouldn't get credit for fighting Gary if he beats. Just like Gary, Gary would give credit for fighting Tank and beating Tank. Gary would get credit for fighting Tank even if he lose the Tank, he would get credit. And I think the same thing would go to Tank because you got to remember, Tank hasn't been in any fights with any big name competition. So just the simple fact that he's in there with a big name would give him credit. Tank Davis has never fought a black fighter. All his fighters has been Hispanic or Asian or white. He hasn't fought a black fighter, and he hasn't fought a big name fighter. The only two big names on his resume is Pedraga and Gamboa. Those are the two big names on his resume. So Tank Davis haven't been in there with no big name fighter, so he would get credit just for the simple fact that he's fighting Gary Russell Jr. because it's a big name. So I don't see why they wouldn't give him credit. I mean, of course, you know they always try to say something against anybody. They're always trying to downplay somebody's win, regardless of who the fighter is. Somebody's always going to downplay the win. So whether it's legitimate or it's not, I mean, it is what it is. But like I said, the real boxing fans, they will give the ones that it matters to anyway, the ones that's always out here talking about who Tank is fighting, who Tank's not fighting, they will give Tank credit for fighting Gary Russell Jr. So I don't see nobody not giving him credit for that. But the next fight that I have up here is Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson. Now that fight definitely needs to happen. Shakur been chasing this man since he was down at 126. Vogt said, I'm sure boxing is the last thing on Tank's mind. He got legal troubles coming up. Hope all goes well for the dude. I mean, Tank Davis been having those legal troubles for a while now. It's been for a couple of years now. So I mean, it ain't like, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if it was some rock solid evidence they had against him, they would have been um, indicted. They would have been pulled Tank into court. Tank got he got arrested for it, and he's been waiting his court trial. So they've been trying to find evidence or whatever. So I don't I don't think Tank is worried about that. I think Tank already know what the outcome is going to be with that fight. With those court cases. I believe, me personally, I believe he's going to beat the case. I don't think he's going to get in any major trouble for those cases. Uh, Salute Roman Espine. He said Demetrius versus Janabek can ruin Andre future plans. A very good fighter. Yeah, I mean that definitely can ruin his plan, but he really doesn't have any plans. He doesn't have any plans. The only thing he's been doing is chasing Canelo. So he really, I mean, if you really look at Demetrius Andrade's resume, he don't have too many big name fighters on his resume. So what is his plans? He, I mean, he had an opportunity to fight Jamel Charlo, and he chose to pull out because he wanted more money. So, I mean, we don't know what Demetrius' plans is because he never really went after nobody except for Canelo. Now he said Jamal name a couple of times, but at that time Jamal wasn't trying to see him because of what he did to his brother. He pulled out of the fight with his brother. I mean, I kind of understood it, but the another part of me is like, why not get in there and fight this man for what he did to your brother? Your brother was ready to fight, and he pulled out 10 days before the fight. So why not go in there and fight him because of what he did to your brother? But I mean, another side of me understand he didn't want to do no business with him because he took the money away from what his brother was supposed to be getting. So I kind of understand both sides of it, but at this point, I mean, it's been years now, so get over it. And you're not really fighting nobody right now. He's not really fighting nobody right now. Why not go in there and make some money? Both of y'all got championship belts, so now it would be for a unification. That would be a bigger fight. So Caronello said, I really like all these fights. Hopefully more than half of them we made. Yeah, I mean, yeah. To be honest with you, I really only see one of these fights being made. Now, possibly two can be made, the one that I see him being made is Earl and Terrence. The Devin Haney and Cambosa can possibly be made, but the other four fights that I have up here, that I they most 9 times out of 10 they probably not going to get made. Now these are the fights that we want to see, but 9 times out of 10, those other four, the Gary Russell Jr., the Oscar Valdez, and Shakur Stevenson, the Canelo and David Benavidez, Jamal Charlo, and Andrade. None of those fights, I don't think is going to get made. I don't think none of those four fights will be made. Now those are fights that we want to see. But like I said, Oscar Valdez has been ducking Shakur Stevenson since he was down at 126. He was the WBC champion. No, I'm sorry. He was. What belt did Oscar Valdez had at 126? Because he wasn't a WBC champion because Gary Russell Jr. had that belt. I can't remember what belt he had. I'm not sure if it was the WBO or the IBF, but either way, he's been ducking Shakur Stevenson since he was down there. Shakur's been it was the WBO, okay. Um, Shakur's been chasing him since he was down in 126. And now that he's at 130, he's the WBC champion, and Shakur Stevenson is the WBO champion. It would be for unification, but Bob don't want to make that fight because he knows that Shakur Stevenson is going to mess up his money because right now Bob is using Oscar Valdez for that Mexican fan base. He don't have no other big name fighters for Mexican fighters to use to build that fan base. Oscar Valdez is the only other. Well, I ain't gonna say the only other, but at that weight class, he's the only other big name fighter. I mean, you got Teofimo Lopez, but he's moving up to 140, and um, he's not. I mean, he's not no real big name at like that anyway. But yeah. So he don't. Bob don't want Shakur Stevenson messing up that money because he knows just like everybody else know that Shakur Stevenson will beat Oscar Valdez. So he don't want Shakur Stevenson in that fight. He's trying to do everything. He's trying to push Lomachenko on him on Shakur Stevenson. He's trying to push who was the other name he said? Oh, Miguel Preset. I'm like, why would Shakur Stevenson fight Miguel Preset when Oscar Valdez just beat him? Shakur Stevenson trying to go right for the person that beat him. He's not trying to fight the person that he beat. He wants the person that won that fight. So, but yeah, so I mean, but then you also have Osaki Foster down in that weight class too that he hasn't fought in a while. Nobody's fighting him neither at 130. Now another fight will be good. Will be Osaki Foster and Chris Colbert. That would be a good fight too. I would love to see that fight. Um, or Osaki Foster and Oscar Valdez. So, and I would love to see uh, uh, Chris Colbert and Shakur Stevenson. I saw them on Instagram um, going back and forth. I saw them on Twitter going back and forth. I don't think Chris really want to get in there with Shakur Stevenson, but if he think he could beat Shakur Stevenson, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I know Shakur Stevenson is going to beat him, but I wouldn't mind seeing it. Um, so that would be a good fight. And, another fight that I don't have up here um, that I know all the fans are looking for them to fight would be Boots with any one of the top fighters at welterweight. Now, what I believe should happen if EJ makes it past Ugas and they set up to fight for undisputed with Terrence Crawford, what I believe should happen, or period, what I believe should happen, I believe Boots should fight the winner. I mean, fight the loser of the EJ Ugas fight because the winner is going to try to fight Terrence Crawford, become undisputed. So whoever lose in that EJ versus Ugas, I believe they should fight Boots next. That would be a great fight. Now, what's going on, Supreme? I mean, everybody. I mean, I'm quite sure everybody is subscribed to him. But if you're not subscribed to Supreme Boxing, subscribe to Supreme Boxing Talk. Um, yeah, so I believe that's what should happen. I believe that Boot should fight the loser of EJ versus Ugas because, like I said, the winner is going to try to fight Terrence Crawford for undisputed. So Boot should fight the loser. Now, I'm not even gonna say if he can't get that fight because I already know that um uh uh, uh Virgil Ortiz is not going to fight him. He already said he needs 48 months before he fight Boots. So that fight not going to happen. So I think the fight that should be made for Boots next is whoever lose that fight in the Earl Spence Ugas fight should fight Boots. Not only is it a good fight, but now Boots can have a top fighter on his resume, because right now everybody's still saying he's not really proven. So whether it's EJ or it's Ugas, Boots get in there and he fight them and he beat them. Now you can't say he's not proven, because he has a top fighter he has one of the top 3 welterweights in the division, or top 4, however you want to put it. You could put Boots at number 3, or you could put Ugas at number 3, however you want to do it. A lot of people will say Ugas is number 3 because he has a belt, but a lot of people will say Boots is number 3 because you look at it and see the talent that Boot has. But that will be a good fight. Yes, yeah, Cadillac. That's a good fight. So I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. I mean, like I said, it's all about the fans getting the fights that they want to see in 2022. Because like I said, we done went through all of the we went through having these fights promised to us and we didn't get them, or the fights that should have been made that wasn't made. So I mean, it's 2022. The same way the fans didn't buy the Tank Davis fights. If you're not getting a quality fight, that's what needs to happen every single time. You're not getting a quality fight, don't buy the fight. Now the diehard fans is going to buy the fight because they diehard fans, but the casual fans, if you're not getting the fights that you want to see, don't buy it. I didn't buy the Tank Davis fight. I listened to it on YouTube. Whoever was calling the fight, I listened to it that way. I didn't buy it. I said I wasn't going to buy it, even when it was with Rolly Ramirez. I said I wasn't going to buy it. What's going on, Dante? Salute. Everybody's coming in. Make sure y'all hit my like button. If y'all not subscribe to me. But yeah, I didn't buy the Tank Davis Rolly Ramirez fight, and I didn't buy the Tank Davis Isaac Pitbull Cruz. Although that fight was a good fight, but nobody foresee that. They thought Tank was going to walk straight through Isaac Pitbull Cruz. Now, people knew that Isaac Pitbull Cruz was a tough fighter, but most people thought Tank was going to end up getting him out of there. So a lot of people didn't buy the fight because they figured it was going to end the same way all Tank's other fights ended. But it actually ended up being a very competitive fight because Tank ended up hurting his hand. So, I mean, it is what it is. But like I said, if you're not getting the fights that you want, I wouldn't buy the fights. What's going on, Shelton? But yeah. So and then like I said, the next fight is Demetrius Andrade and Jermall Charlo. Now, like I said earlier, I touched on it a little bit earlier. And these 2 guys got history. Demetrius was supposed to fight Jermall's twin brother, Jermell Charlo. And they was in training. They went through the whole training camp. And then 10 days before the fight happened, Demetrius felt like he can get more money for the fight. So he decided to pull out. And he didn't fight Jermell. So he moved up to 160, and everybody was saying that Demetrius had called out Jermall Charlo or whatever, but Jermall said he wasn't going to fight him because of what happened between Demetrius and his twin brother. Now, like I said, on one hand, I understand what he did. He didn't want to make no fight with that guy. He didn't want to make no money. He didn't want that guy to make no money off their name after he just got finished stalling his brother out when his brother was supposed to be fighting him. So I understood it. But on the other hand, neither one of y'all are fighting. Y'all both chasing Canelo, and Canelo is not fighting neither one of y'all. So y'all not fighting nobody. So why not get in there? It now is for a unification. Get in there and fight him. It's for unification. He's the WBO champion, you the WBC champion. It'll be a unification fight. It will be a big money fight, and it will be a pay-per-view fight. Demetrius Andrade and Jermall Charlo is a pay-per-view fight. Now, it's not going to do real big numbers, but it depends on who you put on the card. Now, you can put if they ever find a way. Well, I'm not even going to go into that, but it's definitely a pay-per-view fight, and the fans will buy that fight. Jermall Charlo has a big Texas following, and Demetrius Andrade he fights on DAZN, so a lot of people watch him fight on DAZN or whatever. But so I mean, I believe that fight should happen this year as well. Now they talking about Jermall might move up to 168, and Demetrius talking about moving up to 168. So move up to 168, they still got to fight. They still could fight each other at 168. Now, most likely it won't be for unification unless they wait till both of them get the belts again. But the other fight that should be made, which I don't believe is going to get made unless David Benavidez move up, will be the David Benavidez and Canelo fight. Canelo said he don't want to fight no more Mexicans or whatever, but why not fight top guy? You say you building your legacy now. That's a legacy fight. Now, a lot of people have Canelo beating David Benavidez, so I don't know. Me personally, I think David Benavidez, he has a good chance beating Canelo. The only thing is I see that he gets hit a lot. He doesn't have any upper body movement. He don't have good footwork or none of that. He gets hit a lot. So I could see Canelo probably beating David Benavidez, probably stopping him in the later rounds. So I don't know how that fight going to end, but that still is a good fight, and the fans are still willing to see that fight, and they will pay to see that fight. So, but like I said, we have a lot of fights in 2022 that should be made, that needs to be made. So, like I said, the fans, if you're not getting the fights that you don't want to see, you shouldn't pay for them. I mean, you're not going to go to a restaurant and order your food, and they bring you something back that you didn't order, and you're not going to pay for that meal. You're going to tell them to take it back, give you what you want, what you ordered. So if you're not getting the fights that you want to see, don't buy it. But that's all I got for y'all. I appreciate everybody that came through. Like, share, subscribe to my channel. I will be back on Monday. I'm actually dropping a prediction video for the fight for tomorrow. That will be coming out later today, so be on the lookout for that. I will be having a prediction video, and I'm working on a prediction show with my man Ricky Williams. We're trying to do a prediction show. We still working on that. We're trying to work around his schedule because whatever he's available to do, then I'm willing to work with him on that because this is the idea that he came to me with. So we trying to work on that. But yeah, so be on the lookout for that. And like I said, I got a video coming out for the fights that's happening tomorrow. Be on the lookout for those. I'll be back with y'all on Monday at 2:30. It's your boy, Dwayne Freeman, Boxing Matchups. Peace.